You may not realize it, but the moment you step into a crowd, you are no longer fully yourself. Your choices, your morals, even your thoughts can vanish. This video reveals the shocking truth about mob mentality and the one solution that can keep you from losing your mind to the crowd. Have you ever wondered why peaceful people, the kind who pay their taxes and wave to their neighbors, can suddenly turn into violent, irrational mobs? You might think you'd never join them. You might believe that you are immune. But here's the uncomfortable truth. You are not. Crowd psychology is one of the most dangerous and misunderstood forces shaping human history. Why entire stadiums erupt in chaos over a single call. It's why protests spiral into riots. It's why in disasters, people trample one another in blind panic instead of helping. And yet, most people still cling to the fantasy that humans are rational individuals, that we think for ourselves. But research, history, and real-world events prove something terrifying. Once you're in a crowd, your individuality begins to dissolve. Your thoughts, your choices, your morality, they can all vanish. The truth is, crowds create a new kind of creature, a hive mind, a beast with one brain and no conscience. And that beast is far closer to the surface of your own life than you'd ever dare admit. Today, we're going to rip off the mask. We'll expose the shocking science of mob mentality, the historic disasters it caused, and the strange experiments that reveal just how fragile your independence really is. And by the end, you'll see why resisting the pull of the crowd might be the only thing keeping your humanity intact. So buckle up, because what you're about to learn will confront everything you thought you knew about yourself and about the people around you. Society loves to celebrate individuality. Think for yourself, they say. Don't follow the herd. And you nod, confident that you make your own decisions? But let me confront you with this. The belief that you are a completely independent thinker is a delusion. Consider this. Psychologists have shown time and again that our so-called independence collapses. The moment we're surrounded by others, we mirror their emotions, copy their actions, and bend our judgment without even realizing it. Take the famous Asch conformity experiments. One volunteer sat with a group of actors. The group deliberately gave the wrong answer to an obvious question. Which line matched the other in length? And guess what? Majority of participants went along with the crowd. They denied the evidence of their own eyes just to fit in. Now, pause and think. How many times in your own life have you stayed quiet when you knew the truth, simply because everyone else thought differently? That silence wasn't independence. That was crowd psychology pulling your strings. And yet, we look at mobs on the news and say, I would never act like that. Really? That's what every single person in those crowds thought before they were swept away. The lie is comforting. It lets us sleep at night believing we're in control. But here's the truth revealed. Your so-called free will can vanish the instant you join the crowd. And if you don't understand that, you are vulnerable. When crowds form, something dark emerges. People who would never commit violence alone suddenly throw bricks, loot stores, or scream for blood. This is not just passion, it is deindividuation. Deindividuation is what happens when your identity blurs into the mass. You feel anonymous, untraceable. Suddenly, the shame that keeps you polite in normal life is gone. The crowd frees you to act on impulses you'd normally suppress. History is littered with examples. The French Revolution's mobs where neighbors dragged neighbors to the guillotine. The soccer riots in Europe that left entire cities burning. Or the deadly stampedes at concerts and religious gatherings, where human beings trampled one another into the ground, not out of malice, but out of blind panic. And here's the ugliest part. Once emotion spreads in a crowd, logic doesn't stand a chance. Fear spreads like a virus. Anger multiplies like fire. You can't reason with it, you can't outsmart it, and you definitely can't pretend you're immune. Crowd behavior is not about bad people doing bad things. It's about ordinary people, people just like you, caught in forces they don't understand. That is why it is so dangerous. Because it means the line between civilized citizen and raging mob is thinner than anyone wants to admit. So what exactly drives this transformation? Research points to three core forces: deindividuation, emotional contagion, and groupthink. Deindividuation, as we've seen, erases individuality. The bigger the crowd, the safer you feel in anonymity. Emotional contagion is equally powerful. Emotions are contagious, literally. Neuroscience shows our mirror neurons fire when we see others express anger or fear. One person screams and suddenly dozens feel panic ripple through their bodies. Then comes groupthink. Once a crowd settles on a direction, whether it's storming a building or fleeing in chaos, dissent collapses. Nobody wants to be the odd one out. The illusion of consensus takes over, and the group drives itself forward like a machine with no brakes. Put together, these forces turn intelligent individuals into predictable herds. You lose not just independence, but accountability. You don't feel like you made the decision, the crowd did. And that makes it terrifyingly easy for crowds to be manipulated. The proof is not just in history, it's in the laboratory. In the Stanford Prison Experiment, volunteers were divided into guards and prisoners. Within days, ordinary college students transformed. The guards became cruel, the prisoners submissive. Why? Because the group dynamic and anonymity of roles stripped away individuality and morality. In Milgram's obedience studies, people believed they were delivering dangerous electric shocks simply because an authority figure told them to. And while this wasn't a literal crowd, it revealed the same principle. Under pressure, people surrender their conscience to the collective. And in more recent crowd disasters, from concerts to sports events, investigators repeatedly find the same thing. It wasn't bad apples who caused chaos. It was predictable psychology, fear, anonymity, and social contagion, working in lethal harmony. Now, if this sounds hopeless, it's not. The truth revealed is this: awareness is your shield. Once you know how crowds manipulate your mind, you can resist their pull. First, recognize the signs of de-individuation. The moment you feel nobody will notice what I do, pause. That's the crowd talking. Second, guard yourself against emotional contagion. If panic spreads, slow down. Breathe. Emotions are contagious, but calm is too. Finally, challenge groupthink. Even silently reminding yourself, just because everyone is doing it doesn't mean they're right, can snap you back into individuality. You cannot stop a crowd from forming, but you can stop yourself from becoming part of its beastly brain. And that choice could save your dignity, or even your life. So what have we revealed tonight? That the line between you and the crowd is fragile, that individuality can vanish in seconds, and that the world's greatest tragedies often begin not with villains, but with ordinary people swept away by forces they don't understand. But knowledge is power. You now know the truth about mob mentality, the secrets of collective behavior, and the psychology that can turn neighbors into enemies. And with that knowledge, you are already safer, wiser, and more resilient than those who continue to live blind. Remember this: the crowd is powerful, but so is the individual who dares to stand apart. If you found this truth eye-opening, join us on this channel for more revelations. Subscribe, like, and share, because the more people know these hidden forces, the harder they are to control. Until next time, stay alert, stay independent, and never surrender your mind to the crowd.